Hello, everybody, and welcome back. Good to talk to all of you again today. And today, before I get into the details of the video, I'd first like to say please watch it till the end before you comment, because a lot of people are probably going to read the title and start posting things in the comment section without actually hearing me out. So this video is really an addition, I guess, and an extra bit of perspective on the most recent Flamu video, which is the one where he talks about the CV imbalance being not an accident and it's really on purpose. And unfortunately, I think Flamu only gets it about half right. Now, make no mistake, I'm not saying that his point is invalid. I'm just saying he only gets it about half right, because from a surface ship player's perspective, the carrier looks ridiculous. If you play surface ships and you've been attacked, especially repeatedly as a surface ship player by a carrier, it is frustrating beyond belief. And it's very easy to be like, the class is stupid, the design is stupid, wargaming is stupid for doing it, and for making the class design this particular way. And Flamu, of course, being, I think, essentially an exclusive surface ship player, he feels it, and he hates the class with a passion. And so, unfortunately, at times, he looks at it from a very sort of one-dimensional kind of way. That of a surface ship player being repeatedly and forcibly violated by a carrier player. Now, if you keep doing that game after game after game, and especially if you're well known in the community and you have a target on your back, that frustration really can go somewhere very, very negative. And you really start to direct all of your anger towards a specific class. But unfortunately, when you do that, you miss the core issues of what's really happening, and also the main contributing reasons to why it happens. Now, I know Flamu uses Wargaming's words during the CC Summit that it's about popularity, but, during the discussions that we had during that entire summit, top to bottom, my impression was, yes, the popularity thing is a factor, but it isn't the be-all, end-all. There's actually something else that makes it so that these issues are likely to persist from now until forever unless something changes, which so far after this many years has not appeared. Anyways, before we get into more wargaming specific issues, let's talk about the carrier thing again, right? So you're being repeatedly violated. That doesn't feel good at all. At all. But after many, many games, what's your real frustration? Is it the fact that the carriers come in with airplanes and they attack you and they chip away at your HP? Or is it something else? And I would make a very, very good bet that the real frustration is the fact that you cannot fight back. Because when I play surface ships, that's my frustration. I can't fight back. My guy is standing on a deck with a freaking Luger trying to shoot down airplanes and nothing happens. Then it doesn't matter what I do, I can't dodge to infinity. The planes are faster than me, they're more agile than me. And over time, this starts to piss you off because you cannot fight back. Now, why can't you fight back? Well, let's think about the previous times when I've brought this issue up. People will say things like, you know what Wargaming should have done? Is they should have just adopted the AA system from Battle Stations Midway or Pacific or something similar to that. But for those of you who still remember Battle Stations Midway and Pacific, let me ask you a question. What made the AA feel good as a surface ship? Think about that for a second. Most likely you're going to say, well, I was able to just repel air attacks. I was able to just shoot down airplanes. Aha. Why is that? It is because the sort of where the core strength is placed is on you, the player who's playing the surface ship. You have the power. You just have to enter AA mode, point your AA guns up in the sky, and start holding down your mouse button, and the guns go and things start falling out of the sky. Airplanes start dropping, and you feel powerful. You feel like, yeah, my ship is amazing. I can like whack these airplanes down. But let's say you want to implement that into World of Warships. Imagine on the other side is a carrier player. He sends airplanes at you, the one guy in one ship literally hits the button, turns on his AA, and just sprays your whole squadron out of the sky. Do you still want to play carriers if it's that easy for the surface player to kill all of your planes? And just about every reasonable person at this point in time should just be saying, well, no, that wouldn't exactly be a lot of fun. Because you want the carrier player to be able to do something as well. And if the surface ship player just gets to go straight into easy mode AA and just shoot down everything, what's the joy in that? And so this really gets to the core of the problem with carriers. It's the fact that right now, the opposite effect is happening. All the power feels like it's on the CV player's hands. And that, for the surface ship player, is not fun. Because just like if you were a carrier player and you had to imagine playing against Battleship Midway / Pacific level type of AA, where they can just hold down a button and shoot all of your planes down, and you would feel frustration, that's what the surface ship player is feeling right now. Because nothing allows him to do anything. Like, look at this guy right here that I'm attacking. What power does he have? He is basically getting whacked by the finger of God. I can just say, you know what? I want to attack you repeatedly till you die. And what's the entire gameplay that he's got? WASD? The locus of control is not with the player. It's with the spreadsheet. And that is the frustration. You are dealing with essentially an automated spreadsheet number system, and you have no active real control over it. Yes, you've got that sector reinforcement, but that's nothing. That's one button press, right? So where should this have gone? Where should the system have gone? And I've made this argument before. The system really needed to have both, three-dimensional control of airplanes, so that if you're a CV player, you have the ability to maneuver your aircraft in 3 dimensions. It's not just the current one-dimensional kind of maneuver, but you should be able to maneuver in 3 dimensions. And then what the surface ship player should have had is the ability to at least somewhat direct their AA. Now, it doesn't have to be battle stations Midway-like levels, but you need to have some level of manual control. Because the thing is, if I give you some control over, let's say, your flak or whatever, and you have the ability to aim or direct it or whatever, and your flak shoots down an airplane because you caught the CV player in a bad position, you got his airplanes, that will feel good. That legitimately feels like you accomplished something because you did the right thing. Where currently, you're just like, well, the flak is automatically spawned by a spreadsheet and some RNG roll, my continuous AA is a spreadsheet. There's nothing I do that matters. I'm just helplessly WASDing, where the CV player is the one who actually gets to attack repeatedly over and over again, gaining that sense of satisfaction for doing so. Cue the current problems we have in the game, and why CVs are such a big freaking issue. And it's such a divisive issue as well. Because the players who play on the surface don't enjoy CVs. The CV players, well, the good ones are overwhelmingly powerful. The really crap ones are still kind of crap, and they will still get whacked by those flak bubbles, and then they will complain about how, flak AA is overpowered, which really it's not. But that's what you will hear. What's the issue? The issue fundamentally comes down to really, really terrible game design. Putting everything into automated systems, taking away that locus of control from a player to a spreadsheet, makes it so that this experience is insanely frustrating. It is insanely frustrating because no matter your skill level, getting violated without being able to fight back is frustrating. Now, why does wargaming do this? Right? This is your question. Why is wargaming doing this kind of thing? Because wargaming truly doesn't like complexity at times in their games. There are times where they want things simple because they believe, through whatever metric they're using, that, their players can handle more than one thing at a time. I'm not even joking about this. They really think that players are only capable of handling one thing at a time. Maybe 1.5 things if you're really trying to give them some credit. So they think that, just shooting and sailing your ship is already too much of a workload, that if they give you anything else, then it will become so excessive that people aren't going to be able to handle it. Just think about that for a second. Just think about that for one quick second. Imagine any other game where your sole responsibility essentially is to do like 1 or 2 things, and anything beyond that is, oh, that's too hard, let's take that away from you. Imagine if you were playing like League of Legends and you have most of your skills automated. Let's just joke about that for a second. Can you imagine if your responsibility was to click and to move? Click to attack, click here to move. And that was your responsibility. All the skills were automated. How many players do you think would actually be playing League of Legends today if that was the case? And your answer probably should be not many, because where's the fun in that? And that's fundamentally the problem. Wargaming does not like complexity. They want simple mechanics, simple everything. They love binary things, right? Like, a lot of their stuff is binary. Even if you look at the greater game design as well, this issue has been around since forever, right? Think about it this way. The ship armor that we have in the game doesn't necessarily work all that well. And the whole part of that reason is because Wargaming made the penetration values way too high, but they made the armor the normal armor that was historically accurate. Historically, ships engage at distances way greater than we have in game. That's why there used to be things called immunity zones. We don't have those in the game, right? So because of that, they had to adopt other mechanics, things like auto bounce, things like angling your armor, things like that, in order to make it so that you had some levels of defending yourself. Well, eventually, you know where this led to. This led to a lot of players going, well, you know, hey, I could just sit here at an angle or whatever, and it's very hard to dislodge me. That's how we ended up with HE spam, right? Because we needed something to dislodge players. And so it's just like this one band-aid over another because they don't like complex things. Right? Imagine if you had to, you know, really fight within like immunity zones, or you to really consider those kinds of things. That takes skill and planning and thought process. Too difficult. So we don't have it. And this repeatedly has happened. CV rework, that happened again. They don't like complexity. AA that is manually controlled to a certain extent, way too difficult for them. That's just a no-go. You know, you want to have something that requires a bit of skill to play, that's too hard. This is how we're in the mess that we're in right now. So Flamu is half correct. They do care about things like their popularity of their classes and the metrics for their classes. They do care about that. No joke. They really do care. They want to maintain that level of popularity. But it's obtained through simplified mechanics and simplified everything. Because in their minds, if they built something even remotely a little bit more complex and interesting, that those players aren't going to play. But it has become very apparent that if you actually look at the world of gaming, that if you actually have interesting game mechanics where it's actually, you know, a back and forth between players, people play. People do enjoy those kinds of games. People do play those kinds of games. People don't like being violated by things where they don't have any control. And that is the real core issue behind carriers and surface ship interaction. Anyways, folks, that's it for me today. Take care, have a good one, and I'll see you next time.